Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are tackling a huge topic, something that I think every parent is thinking about: mobile phone addiction in our kids. We're going to break down what the research says, the science, the risks, and most importantly, the solutions.
So let's just cut right to the chase with the question this research forces us to ask. And look, I know it's a bit shocking, but it really frames how seriously we need to take this. It makes you stop and think, what exactly have we put in the hands of our children?
Okay, let's get one thing straight. We are not just talking about a kid who spends a little too much time on their tablet. No, the source material here is talking about a genuine clinical addiction. And get this, it can start taking root in kids as young as 2 years old.
And this slide, wow, it really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? Think about it. As a society, we put up all these strict age limits to protect kids from things like alcohol or gambling. But when it comes to mobile phones and social media, it's a free-for-all. The source material calls it an open bar for kids. And that analogy is so powerful because these platforms are often designed to be addictive with almost no regulation.
So you might be wondering, how does a simple phone get its hooks into a child's brain like that? What is actually going on? Well, let's dive into the science of the craving and see how it can literally rewire a developing brain.
First things first, we need to be on the same page about what addiction actually means here. And this is so important. This is not about a failure of willpower. It's not a sign of bad parenting. The source is super clear on this. It's a chronic brain disorder. It involves real, physical, long-lasting changes to the brain's wiring.
At its core, it's a really simple loop. When a kid plays a game or watches a video, their brain gets a little hit of a feel-good chemical called dopamine. And the brain's reaction is basically, ooh, that felt good. I want more of that. But here's the catch. Over time, that constant flood of dopamine makes the brain less sensitive. So it needs bigger and more frequent hits just to feel the same level of pleasure. That's how it hijacks the whole system, making it harder for a kid to find joy in just, normal everyday stuff.
And this is where it gets really scary in the long term. This slide draws a direct parallel that is just chilling. A teenager who learns to use alcohol to cope with stress is really no different from a little kid who learns to use a phone for the same reason. When they're lonely or sad or anxious, they don't learn to reach out to a person for comfort. They learn to reach for their device. And that response gets hardwired into them. So this habit of turning to a screen instead of a person, it doesn't just stay there. It spills out and causes a whole bunch of real-world problems that the research lays out very, very clearly. And I mean, just look at this list. It is a lot. You've got the physical stuff, like messed up sleep and vision problems. Then you've got the developmental problems, like shorter attention spans and even impaired brain development. And then, maybe the most worrying of all, are the emotional and social consequences. Kids having a hard time making friends, struggling with emotional stability, and a documented rise in depression symptoms. Okay, I know, hearing all of that is heavy. It can feel pretty overwhelming. But here's the good news. The research doesn't just drop this massive problem on us and walk away. It gives us a playbook for prevention, and it really puts the power right back where it belongs, in the hands of parents. So the source gives us 5 really practical things we can do. And what's so powerful about them is that they're not about banning things. They're all about connection. It's about hugging your kid when they're upset, to teach them that human comfort is better than a screen. It's about sharing your own struggles, to show them how to handle life. It's about spending quality time together. And get this, even listening to their nonsense talk is a huge deal, because that's how you build the trust you'll need later. And finally, just play with them, with actual toys. That's how they learn creativity and social skills. And this really gets to the heart of it. We have to remember, our kids are watching us, always. They don't just do what we say, they do what we do. Our habits, well, they become their habits. So what does that look like in practice? It's about making some simple changes around the house to model better behavior. Like, no phones in the bedroom, period. Use an old school alarm clock. Create a central charging spot, a little gadget bed where all the devices sleep at night. And put computers out in the open, in the living room. It's all about creating a healthier tech environment for the whole family. Okay, but what if you're listening to this and thinking, it's too late. My kid's a teenager, and they're already glued to their phone. Well, the playbook has to change. The approach needs to be a lot more delicate. And this is a huge warning from the source material, so please listen up. Whatever you do, do not just snatch the phone away cold turkey. Remember, we're talking about a brain disorder. Ripping a phone away from a genuinely addicted teen is like yanking a drug away from an addict. It can cause serious mental harm.
So instead of punishment, the strategy here is to be gradual and supportive. It's about monitoring what they're doing, using parental controls, and negotiating some limits together. But honestly, the most important part is to re-engage with them, play their video games with them, become their friend again. Spend real quality time together to rebuild that connection you might have lost.
So we've looked at the science, the dangers, and the strategies. But if you boil it all down, what's the one thing, the single most powerful tool a parent has in all of this? The research brings it all back to one core idea. It's this, right here. The ultimate antidote to a digital escape is a real human connection. The advice is to connect before you correct. Before you hand them a tablet to quiet them down, offer them a hug. It's really that simple and that powerful.
And so that's what it all comes down to. It leaves us with one last crucial question to ask about our own kids. When they're stressed out, when they're lonely, when they're sad, what will they reach for? The goal isn't just to make sure the answer isn't a device, it's to make sure the answer is a person.